Hey everybody, keeping it real here. Today's date is the 27th of March, and today I think I'm going to talk a little bit about this whole Trayvon Martin thing that's going all over the internet. For those who don't know, and I can't imagine there are anybody out there that doesn't know about this, but according to the initial stories, young black youth shot to death by a neighborhood watch member in Florida. Black youth, 17 years old, shot by, I think he's a 26 or 28-year-old man. White male is how they portrayed it at first. And obviously, in today's world, for some reason, this started some kind of huge racial thing, that some white guy killed a young black kid unnecessarily. And then George Zimmerman, who is the overzealous neighborhood watch guy, wasn't arrested by the local authorities for whatever reason at this point. In the beginning, that's how it turned out. He wasn't arrested because of a stand your ground law in Florida, which says that if you're being attacked or assaulted, you can stand your ground with violence. And so because of that law, he wasn't arrested, he wasn't taken into custody, and he was let go. And because there was a death involved of this young black youth, Trayvon Martin, it turned into a lot of racial innuendo, implying that this had something to do with race, that Zimmerman was a racist and that was a white racist at first, and then Trayvon Martin was some up-and-coming all-American boy. That was the initial story. So the racial tensions started to build, of course, in Florida, where the shooting occurred, where the family started, mourning. Obviously, it was a tragedy. So the family's in mourning, for the death of their son, which they can't understand. And George Zimmerman, the shooter, is let go. So the nation in mourning. This kind of escalates because certain people like Louis Farrakhan and what was his name? Reverend Al Sharpton. Those two particular people get involved, and this all of a sudden they start holding these little rallies about how racism and another white man killed a black youth unnecessarily, and they're really just encouraging this, and the news is showing this on all the channels, CNN, Fox, Headline News, MSNBC, they're all showing this story, and letting Al Sharpton and Farrakhan talk their, well, in my opinion, crap, because they're inciting shit without knowing all the details. Because as the story progressed, we start to learn more about both of these individuals, Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. Like I said, Al Sharpton and this Farrakhan cat are really inciting the riot. So now what we have are all across the country these rallies in support for the family of Trayvon and supporting this whole topic of I am Trayvon Martin. Matter of fact, the president even got involved, got on TV and said that he could very well have been my son, and this whole thing started up with I am Trayvon Martin, where all the blacks and some whites started wearing these t-shirts that says I am Trayvon Martin, meaning that it could be me, it could be my kid, it could be someone else's kid, or who got shot in the neighborhood watch. Anyways, like I said, it's really a lot of media manipulation. So what we got is Trayvon Martin's dead. George Zimmerman is now in hiding, fearing for his life because everyone's thinking he's a white racist. Well, it turns out that George Zimmerman is a Latino American minority with black family members, and Trayvon Martin, who the media has been portraying as this all up-and-coming all-American boy, who was a football player. By the way, the pictures that they were showing of Trayvon all over the media are at least 5, 6 years old. So, I mean, they're showing like 11-year-old, 12-year-old boy in a football uniform all over the news that this boy was killed by this hardcore 250-pound George Zimmerman, because the pictures they showed of Zimmerman looked like a jail mugshot with an orange shirt and mean look on his face, whatever. So now we've got the Black Panther movements involved, and they're putting a bounty. They have already put a $10,000 bounty, and just last night they're talking about $1 million bounty for the arrest of George Zimmerman. For the, well, it wasn't the arrest, it was the, whatever, the capture, sorry, the capture of George Zimmerman. So now you got the Black Panther movement, who was saying shit like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and if it was my baby that was killed, damn straight I'm going to kill his baby. So now this is really pumping it up. This is on the news. So they're showing it all over. I mean, I actually heard them say, you know, headline news, go, you know, do $1 million bounty, $1 million bounty, $1 million bounty, like just like that. So now we got all these pissed off people, you know, a lot of them minorities, whatever, inflamed by the racial hatred that's being pumped by Farrakhan and Sharpton. Now you got all these people pumped up. Now there's $1 million bounty involved. And George Zimmerman, who's in hiding, what's he, I mean, now this man's, who was let go by the police department, the prosecuting attorney's office, obviously felt that there wasn't enough evidence to throw George Zimmerman in jail or place him under arrest. But now this guy has to fear for his life. No doubt about it. He's in fear for his life, as I think I would be too. I, however, wouldn't have pulled out a gun. I think I could have took him. If not, I would have took the ass whooping. But I don't know. It's just, it appears to me like all the details. Yeah, first when I started looking into this, because I was really distracted by other news going on in the world. When I first looked into this, it was that yes, there was possibly some racist shit going on over there in Sanford, the town of Sanford in Florida. The chief of police's son walking down streets beating up homeless black people, and there's video of it, and nothing, because nothing was ever done with that. This easily turned into a racial thing, which I can understand. But the police chief resigned. His son was arrested because that video hit YouTube. I don't know. It's really messed up. George Zimmerman, yes, 250 pounds of pussy, no doubt about it. In my mind, 250 pounds of pussy, who had Supermanitis, you know, swelling of his ego because he was neighborhood watch, patrolling at night, wants to overdo his job, so he calls like 911 47 times in a year. But you know, honestly, that's really part of his job. So, but anyways, he's overzealous because when he makes the 911 call that night, when he sees Trayvon walking with his hood up at night in the rain, carrying something in his hands, it turned out to be a package of Skittles and like an Arizona tea. But he got on the phone with 911, which I've heard the whole 911 video, audio, and the media only shows a part of it, where it leads up to, sir, are you following him? And he's like, and Zimmerman's like, yeah, I'm following him. And they're like, sir, we don't need you to do that. And that's where the media cuts it. But if you listen to the whole 9/11 tape, Zimmerman stays on the phone with him, and he's giving the police directions on how they can find him in the park by some mailboxes. So I don't think Zimmerman was actually following him, because in the 9/11 tape, he talks about how Trayvon was approaching him. You see what I mean? So this innocent youth, black youth, I'm sorry, wasn't as innocent. I mean, possession of marijuana, assaulting a bus driver, kicked out of school because he was carrying burglary tools and some female jewelry that wasn't his. I mean, he was currently on suspension. George Zimmerman, who was first painted as a racist, turns out to be a minority himself with black family members and friends. But the media has pumped this up so bad that we really don't know the whole truth now. And even if the truth comes out, I mean, we're talking millions of people across this country are gathering in cities wearing hoodies saying, I am Trayvon Martin and this could be me, and it's just so pumped up that no matter what happens, I think this is going to end violently. I mean, like violent protest. And my question, because I could debate and talk about Trayvon Martin, what kind of character he was, and George Zimmerman, what kind of character he was, and personally I think, you know, George Zimmerman was just a fat slob, too lazy and too pussified to take an ass whooping. Trayvon Martin, who was painted as the angel, isn't really an angel. I mean, there is no such thing as a perfect kid, but he wasn't as good as what the media was portraying him, especially as a 12-year-old boy picture. That's all the pictures they were showing him. So, because of the media manipulation, and that's where I come in as a conspiracy theorist, I ask myself, why is the media, all the networks, inciting racial hatred? Because that is exactly what they are doing by intentionally showing a young, innocent Trayvon Martin when in fact he wasn't innocent, and saying that George Zimmerman was the assaulter when eyewitness accounts say that Trayvon was on top of the dude beating him. Zimmerman get a gash on the back of his head, a busted nose, grass stains on his back. Eyewitnesses see this happening and then hear the gunshot. And you can hear it on the 9/11, on the 911 tape as well. So this whole media manipulation as to why are they inciting racial hatred, because that's how this is going to end. I'm quite sure of it. Especially with the Black Panther movement, Al Sharpton and Farrakhan in the mix, this is not going to end pretty. Now, I guess my advice to everybody is that keep a cool, rational head. I mean, I have tried to dig into this and try to find the truth behind the issue, and honestly, there's no telling what the truth is now. So much has been said, so many things have been shown on TV and interviews and this and that, honestly I don't think when the truth does come out it's going to be accepted by these millions of people protesting across the country. So the media manipulators, because that's what they do, they manipulate you using the news, are inciting this for what reason? That's my biggest question. I could care less, honestly, that this whole thing occurred between George Zimmerman and Trayvon. Millions of people die. 2.2 million people died last year from violence alone, gun violence alone last year. So why does this one stand out? Minorities kill minorities all the day, every day. Whites kill blacks, blacks kill whites. I mean, it's just something that happens. So why this one and why now? And I guess that's my biggest concern, is that as a researcher of conspiracies and the New World Order and the rise of the coming police state, what is the goal? What's the agenda? What's the media hype for? Is it because they want to do away with the stand your ground law? Is it because they want cameras on every corner? Is it because that they want the National Guard presence everywhere? Or is it because they want to fill the 2,000 internment camps across the country just to see it, give it a dry run? I don't know. But the media is pumping this up. And when the media pumps something, I'm not saying it's trivial because there is a death here and it's a sad tragedy. But the media is no doubt pumping this up. And the question I think all of us should be asking is, why are they pumping it up? And what's on the agenda? Because when this turns out, hopefully not, but when it turns out to be a race war, and there are the LA riots in multiple cities across this country, and the National Guard or even the military gets called in because they can now, and with the passing of the National Defense Authorization Act 1021, belligerence and acting out, rioting can and will be deemed an act of terrorism in this country now, and that was signed into law by Obama on New Year's Eve while everyone was partying and getting drunk. So my concern is that when this turns into a racial rioting in the streets, and blacks and other minorities and some white people are really pissed off and rising up against the man, I think that's why they're manipulating this because they want to try what they've been preparing for the last 10 years. Americans as terrorists, they Halliburton contracts for FEMA camps totaling $360 billion. And these been, over the last 10 years, have been built, and now they've been staffed. So I think that there's a reason for this. I think they want to try these new laws that they've got. I think they want to try new toys that they have as far as crowd control, electromagnetic pulse weapons, acoustical weapons like the LRAD. I think they're really going to push the boundaries on free speech. I think they're going to take just another infringement, another step towards absolute gun control by maybe even removing the stand your ground law, which says you can defend yourself. There's an agenda here, guys. There always is. Whenever the media takes something that I admit is not small, but small in the grand scheme of things, and pumps it up the way they have with all this energy, whenever the media does that, there's something to be gained on their part. They always do it this way. So I guess my thing to you guys is, listen, go calm, go cool-headedly into this, and, you know, God forbid this turns into a race war. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think it's going to end up violent. I think there's going to be protests, and I think that powers that be are going to use this to maybe start implementing some martial law laws, you know, and start throwing people in camps and taking away the constitutional rights of Americans. I really think that this is probably how it's going to end up. I mean, I don't think it's going to be martial law overnight, but if it's rioting and protesting in multiple cities across the country, then, well, maybe it might be martial law. But what I think is that keep a cool head. Don't let this race shit get to you, because it's not about race. If this shit is getting you mad, slow down and think about it, because they are manipulating you. This shit happens all the time, every day, every minute in America. The death of somebody, a minority or a white guy or whatever. And that's another question, and I don't mean to, you know, throw in racial implications or anything like that. But if this was George Zimmerman, a Latino American shooting a white guy in self-defense, would it have gotten the attention that it is? If this was a black man shooting a white guy, if this was a white guy shooting a Mexican, would have gotten the attention that it did from Reverend Al Sharpton and Farrakhan and the Black Panther movement. Obviously not the Black Panther, but see, it's media manipulation, people, and you just got to tone it down, because this is only going to end up ugly if this pumping up of the feelings and the emotions continues on. And honestly, I don't see that there's going to be a peaceful revolution. I think George Zimmerman might have to defend himself because of the bounty that was put on his head by the Black Panthers. And I think another person could end up dead, whether it be George Zimmerman, a family member of George Zimmerman, or it could be the people that are trying to get this bounty on George Zimmerman. And that will just incite things more. So, I don't know. There's really no answer, no solution. I'm on neither side on this, because I think there is so much media manipulation involved that we as people who watch the news, it pulls at our heartstrings and wants to get us, and we want to get angry at it. But then again, we're getting angry without knowing the whole story. It's like just listening to one person telling you something about somebody else, and you go over there and whoop that person's ass just to find out that the information you were told by one person or other people was completely and way wrong. And like I said, this is not going to be pretty, and I don't think it's going to end up the way that I would like it to, which is peacefully and just quietly disappear. That ain't going to happen, people. I'm sorry. Anyways, I don't know how much more I can really say about Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. I think there's other more pressing news stories out there that need to be paid attention to, you know, and that's another thing why I think this whole thing is being used. Yeah, they always take, you know, kind kind of small stories and blow them way out of proportion, so you start paying attention to this news story and ignoring everything else that's going on around you. So, I don't know. That said, I'm already 20 minutes into this, and I think I'm probably wasting my time. But the importance for everybody, keep it cool. Try to look at all the facts. Don't form an opinion just because you're black and it pisses you off. Don't form an opinion because you're white and it pisses you off. Form an opinion because you checked out everything you could. You watched MSNBC, you did some Googling to find out, okay, who's this Trayvon Martin? Okay, who's this George Zimmerman? And what other story? And then form your opinions. Don't go because your heartstrings are being pulled. I mean, that's called, you can be manipulated all day long with your heartstrings. Go with some common sense. Think about it, people. And I guess that's it. That's just my 21-minute take on this. So I hope I'm not just rambling. I hope I'm actually getting some kind of message out there, which is to be cool and use your head, people. Don't be manipulated like sheep. All right, this is Keeping It Real. As always, peace.